Welcome to Joe Stunner Boxing. Let's talk about Jerrell Large Infant Miller, who gave an interview on a channel called The Stomping Ground, which is a pretty good channel if you like your boxing interviews. And Miller is someone that I find really objectionable. I think I've said this so many times before in videos that I think he should have been banned from boxing for life, but he hasn't been because he sells tickets and, since when does morality have anything to do with professional boxing? But I think one of the reasons that he is box office is because of his mouth. And sure enough, the interview he gave with the Stomping Ground channel on YouTube, it was quite revealing. And like I say, I don't have a great deal of respect for this man at all. He's just a fat fucking cheat as far as I'm concerned. But he's good for a quote, I'll give him that. I mean, take, for example, the ongoing litigation between him and Dmitry Salita, who was his former promoter. He referred to Salita as, quote unquote, a cunt and a piece of shit. And in fact, he suggests that lots of other fighters will also refer to Mr. Salita as a piece of shit. Okay, I've never met Mr. Salita, don't know nothing about him. But Jerrell's not a fan. They are not on each other's Christmas card lists. But what's interesting is normally when litigation is ongoing, and this is, people just say, well, I've got nothing to say about him. Oh, no, quite the opposite with Jerrell. He don't give a fuck. He throws as many insults around as possible. Now, you take, for example, Carl Froch. They've had words, haven't they? And he said that Froch can, he told him that he can suck a certain part of his anatomy, which, considering the size of big baby Miller, that's quite a meal. And in fact, he doesn't stop there, because he also said that someone else, who was it now? Was it AJ? Can lick his big hairy black nuts or some shit like that. So everyone's feasting on large infant Miller. Is there a register for this sort of thing? And this is the way he carries on, and this is why he sells tickets, because he's great for a quote. He also said, with regard to the promotional thing, he said, I'm starting my own promotional company. So bear in mind, this guy has failed, innumerable tests for a whole, ocean of PEDs, all sorts of cycle stuff that you have to inject, time and time again, and he's still making big money. But having said that, here's something that's quite interesting. Despite the fact that he has got nothing but contempt for Joshua as a person, or so he says, he doesn't let that dislike of a fellow fighter get in the way of speaking honestly about their chances in the ring. Because when he was asked about Joshua against Jarrell Anderson, who's also got this weird big baby name. Where do this big baby stuff come from? I'm damned if I know. Joshua was meant to be possibly fighting Jarrell Anderson, and Miller said he thinks AJ probably has the edge. He said, in experience, he hits harder. Interesting comments. So when you ask him, what do you think of so-and-so, they'll just let it all hang out. But when you say, what do you think about them as a fighter, he can differentiate and separate the two, detach them entirely. That is actually does show a slight sliver of character. And I'm not going to say that I think Jerrell Miller is any kind of character that anyone should be looking up to, because he isn't. He's clearly a cast iron cheat. Not someone I've got any respect for at all. Do I need to go into a rant here? You know how dangerous boxing is. You get in there, it's like getting in there with a fucking loaded gun and the other bloke's got a pea shooter. And people die in boxing rings anyway. So to juice yourself up to the bollocks and then go in there and start slinging punches, supercharged hyper punches, you stand the chance of killing people. And of course his physique has changed massively. He now looks like a big melted chocolate sundae, whereas before he looked like a fucking condom stuffed with walnuts. That's going to happen if you come off the PEDs. But he doesn't speak very highly of Jarrell Anderson. But again, even though he was quite contemptuous of him, he said, he's a young kid. even though I don't particularly like him, if he wanted my advice, I'd give it to him. I'd give him honest advice. It's a very strange, double-edged, yin and yang sort of mentality this guy has. Now, he was asked about the Fabio Wardley fight. Why'd you back out of that one then? And he kind of said, even though he's speaking to an English reporter, video reporter, whatever they call themselves, he said, look, Britain is renowned for not, I'm paraphrasing, but not giving people a fair shake, and he used the Justice Hooney knockout when Fabio Wardley knocked him flat with one punch. He said, well, he didn't give Hooney any kind of standing 8 count, didn't give him a chance to get back into the fight, and a lot of people have made that argument, but he was using that as an example of why Britain is very unfair, why the house fighter gets everything handed to them. And he was cautious of that. And he also, I think he has he's got this litigation going on with Salita, but he just seemed to feel that the risk reward wasn't worth indulging in. So he kind of backed out. And he was very flattering of British boxing fans, but not so much the politics that goes on. Well, there's no doubt that politics goes on in every single country, and Britain isn't the worst, but that's not to say it's perfect. It's a long way from being perfect too. So we have to bear all that stuff in mind. And he also mentioned Joshua. He mentioned Joshua, and he said, for example, when Joshua was getting knocked around by Dubois, smashed up, they were letting him get up, constantly get up and up and up and up and up. Okay, fair enough. But he was in there with another Englishman. So it was, you could argue, well, it was 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And he said that he wants Dubois to beat Usyk. He gives Dubois a chance. He thinks Usyk's probably the favourite a little bit, but he gives Dubois a very good chance. He actually kind of, by proxy, pinched a bit of credit, saying that Dubois' fight with him had, brought him out of himself, made him mature, made him reach his peak. In other words, he'd learnt a lot from fighting Miller, which, I wouldn't dispute that. I think that was a very, very good win for Dubois. Miller at the time, of course, was undefeated. I think that's still his only defeat. But he wants the revenge. He wants revenge on Dubois. So this interview, again, not someone I particularly like, but, it is worth a look. It is worth a look, this interview. So if you're up for it, go and have a look on the Stomping Grounds YouTube channel. And if you've got any comments, of course, leave them below. And I'm going to say now, don't you? If you like the video, hit the video, the like button, and also the subscription button as well, because, we want to build the channel up. Well, I do anyway. And you do too, because it's your channel as well. Isn't it? Look at the finger. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I've had a tired day at work. Oof, knackered. Anyway, I'll speak to you again sometime. Much love, peace, and all the rest. Bye for now.